Hello everybody, my name is Hawk Nightwing and welcome back to another gameplay commentary video. And I want to talk about the G4 versus G5 backlash. Now, I originally wanted to stay out of this whole discourse after everything that's happened, but I decided that I think it's ultimately best that I make a video on this just to clear the air and to really state my opinion on this whole madness. Now, the EQD headline reads that apparently G5 fans and G4 fans are at war with people who are defending G5 like me, essentially wanting to form their own community, and G4 fans saying that the OG can't be replaced. Now, as for where I stand on this whole thing, well, it's complicated. I don't think it comes as a surprise to you, but really, my thoughts on G5 are a lot more complicated than you think. You misunderstand me. I think in a lot of areas, I prefer G5 because of the more emotionally rich storytelling and masterful character work. Like, G5 has a lot of things that G4 doesn't, and there's go places that G4 didn't. So it's definitely better in a lot of areas on the Make and Mark side of things. But conversely, on the Tired Tale side of things, I can understand if people prefer FIM a lot more. I think Tired Tale Season 2 has really come into its own, and it seems to be more plot-focused. And if it keeps up this path, I think it can replicate the success of Make Your Mark, and really become, like, you know, better than FIM like that show did. But right now, I can understand if people still think FIM is better. I think FIM still is better in a lot of in some areas, not a lot, but still in some areas, like the longer runtime and it essentially being a consistent long-running show. So it's a bit of a complicated issue. As for the whole G5 fans should have their own community thing, oh, absolutely. At this point, I think we should have our own community. The Brony fandom we knew, I think, is dead. I didn't want to ever say that, but I think it's clear to me at this point that whatever fandom I used to know and love, like, isn't here anymore. So the best thing we can do is, like, start from scratch. That's kind of what I wanted to do with the channel originally. Build up my channel to defense videos, and then essentially, once my audience was big enough, I was gonna say, like, why don't we start our own Brony fandom? I even had, like, the new Brony fandom logo attached to my banner. Like, I don't think anyone noticed that, but I essentially had the logo, my plan logo, that I attached to my channel banner. It's still there. And those plans kind of fell to the wayside for a while, but I think that would ultimately be good. I don't want to fight with G4 purists anymore. I think that's become clear. I don't want to focus on taking people down. I more so want to focus celebrating on what G5 is. I think this new wave of G5 defense videos, like, for as much as I say that I think my videos sort of served like the groundwork for that, Phelan Cortez, I think, actually made the first G5 defense video, with his chapter 2 review, if I recall correctly. So I think we both had influence on the new wave of defense content, but now I think the reason why we're fighting against the G4 fans is because of the amount of hate they gave G5 back in the day. So now I think I agree with most commenters saying that, like, oh, now we G5 fans are fighting back, because we absolutely are. But really, I don't want us to fight over the generations. Why should we fight over which generation is better? Like, I personally think in a lot of areas G5 is better than G4, but why do we need to fight with people over that? Why can't we just enjoy what we enjoy? The main problem with the G5 hate was that it was inviting unnecessary comparisons to the generations and trying to take down G5 while elevating G4 unnecessarily. So why are we doing the same thing here? I know I've made those G4 versus G5 shorts in the past, and I can still make them if I want to, but really, what is the point? I mean, back when I made those, I think I was more engaged in the G4 versus G5 discourse, simply due to the amount of hate I was getting personally in the comments just for liking G5. So, and I kind of was like making a parody of LMP Fever's short, or that got a lot of attention. So I was saying, like, oh, this is G4 versus G5, but accurate. It was like, what even is the point of that anymore? I used to rely on the shorts a lot for my G5 defenses, and now I make long-form analysis videos. Now I make the defense videos, which are, like, range from, like, 45 minutes, 39 minutes, to over an hour and a half. So and it's gotten my point across far better than those shorts ever could. essentially what I'm trying to say is I'm moving my content in a direction where I can celebrate what G5 is without having to tear down G4 in the process. Like, there are a couple of problems I have with G4 now, especially now that G5 has done them a lot better. Those specific elements, I mean, but I won't make those videos unless I can find out a way to do them without coming across as hateful. I don't want to take down a generation in order to elevate the other one. I think the main problem with my first video was that like, I kind of fell into the same trap that Josh Scorcher did, where he was comparing the two generations, and you'll notice that I got rid of a lot of the comparisons between generations with my part 3, with the exception of a couple of instances, because I mainly wanted to focus on celebrating G5, and we should be doing that. We should celebrate what G5 is. We should celebrate what G4 did. We should not fight with people over which generation is better. You can have those opinions, but why are we threatening people over this? This discourse essentially all started from, apparently I heard that people were sending death threats to the crew who worked on G5 and threatening G5 fans. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing any of that? And this leads me to my ultimate point that maybe we should, after all, form our own community, because we should try and distance ourselves from the G4 purists as best as possible. It's not worth fighting with them. If they feel content to send death threats to people, that threaten people over loving a generation or working on a generation, then I think that's when we should cut the cord. Because what does that say about us? That we can't handle opinions? That is not what I think we should be known for. And that's not what I think the G4 fans want either. I think if they took a step back and realized what they were doing, they would realize that this is counterproductive to the message of friendship, guys. Like, broskies, if Twilight Sparkle was here, she would be like, I have failed you, because this is what it's essentially boiled down to. We are essentially more divided than ever because we choose to pick sides. And I'm guilty of this too. I'm guilty of this 100%. I have never been shy in regards to acknowledging the mistakes I've made with my content and how I'm trying to move forward with it, even in spite of people who still bring up my past. I've done my best to move forward, and for some may not be enough, and that's fine. There are some bridges I've burned too far beyond repair, and that's something I'm gonna have to live with. But in regards to what I want to do, I kind of want to set an example to really counteract this whole backlash. Like, by all means, we need to continue making our G5 defense videos. I'm going to continue making mine, and I have no intention of stopping the series anytime soon. Even after the 6 parts are done, I'm gonna continue to make more, because there's a lot to talk about. But we should never let it get to a point where we're being outright vitriolic against a specific group. I think part 1 already established how angry I was at the G5 hate them, and I still am, if I'm being honest, I still am, but I choose not to let that be reflected in videos anymore, because the answer to hate isn't more hate. The answer to hate is love. And that's what I choose to do. That's how I choose to make my content. I realized a while back that counteracting with hate-filled response videos doesn't help the situation. And I think we should realize that trying to convince every single person in the whole wide world is not going to work. Like, Hasbro already lost the moment they signed that deal with Netflix and prevented Making Mark from going to TV. There's an essential difference between streaming shows and television shows. Television shows, they air on TV, so there can be a large fandom born out of it. But streaming shows, it's an incredibly small niche, and you can't really expect the same fandom to be born out of that. I've since realized that, and I think that's the main reason why Make Your Mark hasn't gotten the level of attention I think it deserves, because first and foremost, it's a Netflix exclusive show, and streaming shows to that caliber don't really get the same amount of attention. And that's something that has nothing to do with the quality of G5 at all. Like, people will say that it's like, oh, it's because G5's bad, it has no fandom presence. No, it's because the whole streaming deal. The truth is, the only people who are going to care about a streaming show based off of a beloved IP are the people who already care about that IP. It's not really going to attract too many outside viewers. Whereas with FIM, it was a staple show of the Discovery Channel for a while, so it attracted a huge fan base. It could have been terrible, and it still would have attracted the same sort of fan base, because, for better or worse, it was a show designed to be seen by the masses. Whereas streaming shows aren't. So you might say that Tired Tale might fare better because it's a YouTube show and YouTube web series are kind of more popular, but I'm not holding my breath. Tired Tale is awesome, like season 2, but I'm not counting on it because it's still not TV. If it manages to attract outside viewers, then that's awesome. I think season 2 deserves it, but really, we should be focusing on convincing the people within our niche, like the people who are more open-minded, like not the purists, the G4 fans who are more open-minded or in the middle. We should be focusing on convincing them. We're never going to convince the purists. It's not going to happen. Ultimately, this fandom war between the G5 fans and G4 fans, it's stupid. It is, and it proves more than anything that we can't stop fighting over stuff like, derpy and all that. We can't stop, being ourselves. It's baked within our DNA. We can't stop being our lovable and hateable brony selves. And to an extent, it's a good thing, but when it turns into this, I think we need to stop and reassess what we're doing, and then try and move forward from it. As for what I think of this whole situation, G5 will never be G4, and that's okay. It's its own thing, and it deserves to be its own thing. It carves out its own story, it carves out its own lore, with the G4 stuff only be using as like a framing device, background context. And it works well enough that new viewers can come in without having seen G4, so G5 works best when it is its own thing, and it deserves to be its own thing. As its own thing, it's fantastic, it's wonderful, it's phenomenal even. It's produced some of the best writing out of any MLP thing ever. So I think we should focus on celebrating that. If you're someone who hasn't watched G5 and seen a lot of backlash to it, well, go check it out for yourself and don't let the opinions of others influence you. Not even us. Like, your opinion is more valuable than mine. I think my changing mindsets reflect the fact that my channel is growing bigger and I have a bigger audience to be responsible for, and I have to make sure I'm setting the best example for my audience. I no longer want to be the vitriolic person I was back in my old videos, but I never want to stop fighting for G5. And ultimately, if I was forced to choose between G4 and G5, I picked the path of peace. Yeah, option C, I know it doesn't exist, but that's ultimately the path I choose. I'm probably one of the biggest G5 defenders out there. I've been there since the beginning, and I want what's best for the Brony fandom. My Brony fandom, our Brony fandom. This Twitter backlash, this whole Twitter debacle may prove that the Brony fandom is officially dead, or at least the Brony fandom as we once knew it, but that doesn't mean we'll stop fighting for what the Brony fandom did for us. Like, how it changed our lives, how it made us creators, how it inspired us, and how MLP in general inspires us. The spirit of MLP is friendship, unity, and both those things. They come together and they flow together seamlessly. And we should be embracing both and celebrating what both generations taught us, what they did for us, what they showed us, the wonderful stories they told, the masterful character work on both. And I want the ideal Brony fandom for me would be in a world where both generations are celebrated. That is the Brony fandom I once knew, and I think we can still get it back, if only in spirit. Regardless of where G5 goes, where the story takes us, I'll still be here for it. And I think we all will be too. For better or for worse. I'll still be here making my defense videos and proving why G5 works from a writing standpoint so well, and the peers will be here too. I think for all them saying that they're moving on, they can't move on. Because MLP is as much part of their identity as it is for us. And at the end of the day, we're all fans. But at the end of the day, these have just been my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours, so feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then feel free to drop a like and subscribe to be updated on future content. It helps my channel grow, and who knows, you might want to stick around for more. Normal analysis will be resuming soon. I have to take care of something first, and then I'll get to work on the why G5 does not have wasted potential vid. That'll be coming soon, I guess. I don't know, I need to work on it. But, I'll let you know when that happens. Gosh, I hate doing unscripted vids. Until next time, this is Hawk Nightwing signing out. Hoof to heart.